Hi, thanks for joining me for our fifth video in our SUP series. My name's Craig, I'm the Chief Instructor at Polkerris Beach. And today joining me is Dom Moore from the Surf Sanctuary Surf School over in Newquay. So he's a generally accomplished waterman, but more specifically, Dom is a surf and SUP coach. He's a British SUP Association national trainer and editor of SUP International magazine. So yeah, to kick off, the main question we've had from those who haven't tried SUP surfing before. So in your opinion from teaching, how much experience do you need to start SUP surfing?
You don't need any experience to start the learning process. What I do is I break it down into three components. So you've got surf skills, which you have to build up, and you've got flat water paddle skills, and then you put them both together and you've got your SUP surf skills. So if for example, someone comes to us and they're a surfer, they can already surf, and they want to get stand-up paddle surfing. What I would do is I would take them on flat water first, get their flat water skills up, and then put them in waves with the surfs up. And on the other way round, if someone came to us and they were a SUP racer and they had good paddle skills but they couldn't surf, I would take them on a surf lesson first and then put the two things together. So it's very rare that you take somebody who's not done it and put them straight in the surf.
Yeah, of course.
You have to start building a foundation somewhere, and you just look at that person and decide whether they're lacking paddle skills or surf awareness or both. So if someone came to me who had no experience in any of these things and said, well, SUP surfing is what I want to do, I would take them through a three-part program.
Yeah.
That would build up the surf skills over a lesson or two, however long that takes, just to get an awareness of it. They don't have to be excellent, just to know how waves work, and then build up the flat water paddle skills. Once that's all done, I mean, that varies from person to person how quickly they learn. You know how that is. But once that's done, then you can put it both together and then take them SUP surfing.
Okay.
So, kind of a short answer to that would be: you don't need any prior experience, but it's just gonna sort of hold back how many sessions you have to have before you can put them both together.
I guess with that, like you say, it's having a lesson, isn't it? You don't need experience for the lesson, but it depends how quickly you learn.
You don't need experience to start anywhere. Start at the beginning. It's the best place to be. So.
Do you find with that people will normally come from a SUP background or a surf background, or is it quite a mix?
It's usually from the stand-up paddle background that people are coming along for SUP surf lessons.
Okay.
I think they'll be paddling inland, paddling on lakes, and they don't have access to the sea. So for a lot of people, if they don't have access to the sea, stand-up paddleboarding is great because it gets them doing a board sport on the water without needing a boat.
Yeah.
So those people have an eye on the sea. After a while, they're like, well, what's it like out there? What is it like to ride waves? I think they naturally become curious, and they're typically the people I see coming through. If someone's been surfing for quite a while, what tends to happen is that they just borrow a SUP, off a mate, paddle around on the river a little bit, and then have a crack at it themselves and figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So the next question, in your opinion, why would someone do SUP surfing over regular surfing?
Well, I think they're a complement to each other, and there's days when regular surfing is the way to go, and there's days when SUP surfing has so many more advantages. A typical situation where I like to take a SUP board out is at Fistral Beach, quite a big beach, quite wide beach. If the conditions are quite if they're not too good and the peaks are sort of scattered around the beach and you want to be going from one to another, then a SUP's great because you can paddle 400 meters up, 400 meters down all day long and not really feel it. You do that on a surfboard, it starts to get quite stale. So when I'm in a situation where I require more mobility, as in the ability to cover a larger area easier, then a SUP surfer wins every single time.
Okay.
If it's quite a focused takeoff zone, then I prefer to go on a regular surfboard. But yeah, when it's a question of being able to get from one place to another quickly and surf waves and join the dots and all the rest of it, surfboard every time.
So the conditions kind of dictate more what you're doing than anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Conditions and crowd factor. Sometimes here in the summer it's so busy that even though you're not really presenting any greater risk on a SUP board than someone with a longboard, or anyone with any board, in fact, it's just a little bit. You just sort of I just find it a little bit more comfortable to be lying down rather than standing up. Situations, yeah.
So what conditions would you recommend looking for as a beginner to SUP surf?
Well, the smaller the better. The smaller the better in terms of surf, and no wind.
Right.
Yeah, no wind. And then I would also add into that the crowd factor. So early in the morning is good, or sort of 10 o'clock when all the the pre-work crowd have gone home. There's these little quiet periods. So if someone's learning to SUP surf, they will soon find that the crowd is the most other people in the water are the most intimidating thing. Not because anyone's being nasty, but when you're learning to ski, and you're worried about, can I stop? Am I going to crash into someone? Are these people past me? It's that sort of thing when you're not in control and you don't want to present any problems to anybody. So, which is a natural reaction, and that's just people being safe and cautious as they should be. So, if you find a time, I'd say go for a time of the day when the crowds are not there, rather than going to a way out of the way beach where the crowds aren't there, because that just has its own sets of problems. And it's, to be honest, you're unlikely to find a perfect surfing beach without anybody on it, because they just don't exist.
I was going to ask if you had any recommendations for beginners where to go, but like I say,
I would say all the main beaches. So Fistral Beach, Perranporth, Watergate, Newquay Bay, Gwithian, anywhere you like. They're all decent beaches. Yeah, they're all sand bottom beaches. They're all good. It's really, really easy to see where you need to be. Choose any of those spots rather than somewhere like Bedrooth and Steps where you're way out the way and you're out of sight from everybody. And if you bash yourself on the head with the paddle, then no one's ever going to find you ever again. Which can happen. It can happen. It's easy to hurt yourself on those boards, and if no one's around, then you can be in a bit of a pickle.
Have you got a best location you've ever SUP surfed?
The best waves I've had probably would be straight out the front here at Fistral. It's quite flat today, but right out the front here, this is where I've had the best waves, probably because I'm here so often. But some of the memorable places, Scale Bay in Orkney, on the islands of Orkney Isles. There's a place called Scale Bay, and there's an ancient settlement there called Scarabray. It's the oldest village in Europe. No one lives there. It's been excavated, and there's it's an incredible place, and there's a right hand point break there, always empty because no one hardly lives there, and that would be one of the most unique places, I think. That probably, or the outer reefs in Maui, which is really the outer surf and the outer reefs. You can get to it by jet ski, very long paddle on a prone board, but SUP's perfect for it. And that was really, to surf those reefs was really one of the reasons why SUP got going in the first place, so people could get to the places.
That sounds amazing. So some people might be daunted by taking a big board out in the surf. How do you recommend they keep safe when they're SUP surfing? Any advice?
Well, kind of leading on to this sort of leads on a little bit from the conditions question. If the surf's nice and small, then it's a nice familiar beach. That helps a lot. And choose a day with no wind. The biggest risk factor, other than being hit by the board itself, is going to be an offshore wind, a strong offshore wind, because these things work like sails when people are on them. If the paddle skills aren't up to scratch, it's the offshore wind which is going to create a problem, because, of course, by nature of the fact that the land behind you is higher up than the sea, you can't actually feel an offshore wind until you're 50 metres out, 100 metres out, and then it gets stronger and stronger. But in terms of handling the board, hold on to it by the back. So carry it down at the water's edge, put it in, always have the board facing straight out towards the horizon or straight in towards the waves. Never have it across your body. And then handle it from the back. Push it down by the tail to put it over waves. Always handle it from the back. You never want to be dragging a board around by the nose. It just doesn't work that way. So if you handle it from the back, it can swing around, you can move it around. It's the easiest way to do it. But again, if you're not happy with the size of the board in waves, get happy with the size of the board on flat water first.
And progress from there.
Once you're familiar with it, then crack on. Was your video, was it, Craig? You were on doing some balancing exercises and jumping around on a SUP board?
I was jumping around,
that sort of thing is really, really clever to do. It's a really smart thing to do. Even with a hard board, you can put it on the sand and you can get used to a bit of footwork and handling it, or in the back garden, whatever, put it on some cushions. Big believer in that. Training at home.
first part of a surf lesson, isn't it? Being on the board and sort of popping up.
That's it, jumping around on it, filling out the parameters, all the rest of it. I really like your idea, put some cushions underneath it or something, then you've got the wobble board, and then you can really feel the tipping points. That sort of thing really helps.
Yeah, well, that leads us on to kit then. So I guess you get to sort of review a lot of kit for the magazine, which sounds cool.
Yes.
For those that don't have a dedicated SUP surfboard, would you say that any sort of type or length or style is fine to use?
Anything, yeah. I would say if you want to go SUP surfing, just use the board you've got. You know, they'll all do it. They'll all catch waves. If you can stand on it in flat water and it doesn't sink, it'll surf to some degree or another. So don't wait and don't worry about having the right kit. Just get out there and give it a try. And just remember, as we've been saying, that the conditions are really the most important thing. If you get those right, and it's easy to find good SUP conditions. If you get those right, then it helps a hell of a lot. So yeah, anything will work.
If people are keen to get a SUP surfboard, is there anything you think they should be looking out for?
Well, given the choice, then, if someone's going to buy a board for it, buy a hard board. You can. The inflatables do work, but if you don't have transport issues, if you don't have storage issues, a hard board is always going to outperform an inflatable board. So yeah, get one of those. A 10.6 all-rounder hard board is great. Most companies, they have their 10.6 inflatables. They'll also have a 10.6 all-rounder as well.
Cool.
You know, if you do have to get an inflatable, though, there are some really good brands, obviously, that are knocking those out as well. But given the choice, yeah, hardboard every time.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Sorry, unless there's anything else you're going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a really loose sort of equation you can use to decide how big your board needs to be. So, given that a litre of volume in a board tends to float a kilo of person standing on top of it, if you double your body weight and you get the resultant literage, so say someone weighs 100 kilos, they buy a 200 litre board to learn to SUP surf on, that's going to work quite well. You know, someone who weighs 80 kilos, they buy a 160 litre one, that's going to work quite well for beginners. So you can have this ratio there of 2. If someone is quite confident and they're paddling quite a lot, then you can just use a ratio of about 1.7. So if someone's 100, someone's 100 kilos and they could buy a 170 litre board and it'll work quite well. And then the next one down is 1.5 and then 1.3.
Just depending on your skill level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you always want you always need a decent amount of positive buoyancy, of course. Otherwise it just becomes very difficult. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think we're all wrapped up. So the last thing, just if anyone wants to get in touch with you for any advice, for any questions, where should they go?
Oh, if they just type Surf Sanctuary into Google, we'll pop up, or come and see us at the hotel. Just phone in advance for now, obviously the way things are. But yep, surfsanctuary.co.uk. We're there. Give us a call anytime, and we'll help them out. If people just want a conditions update or they just want a bit of guidance, that doesn't cost anything. Just give us a call. We're happy for that.
Sounds good. Cool. Thanks very much for your time. I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and see you again soon.
Cheers, Craig. Thank you.
See you later.